Wide receivers made a little bit of a comeback this week when looking at college football prospects. What's up, everybody? Good morning. Hope you guys are doing well. We are here on Wednesday, and it's one of the last college football Wednesdays of the season because we don't have a lot of college football left. We got one more week, and then it's mostly just bowl games, and I'm not really going to be talking a lot about bowl game college prospect stuff because the games are going to be a little too sporadic, and there's not going to be enough to get into, and there are going to be a lot of good college prospects that are certainly interesting, but not going to be personally all that interesting to me because they're a running back, they're a left tackle, they're a you guys know what I'm getting at here. So we're going to have this. We're going to have it next week. And then that's probably it. And at that point, we're going to try to process everything that we've learned over the season and get an idea of where the wind is blowing. So enjoy it while it's here. And I know not a lot of people watch these videos. I know that these videos are for a very niche audience, and that as we get closer to the end of the season and the off season, more people will actually care about draft stuff. Right now, it's thin. But for those of you out there who like this stuff, we got 2 more weeks, including this week. So let's jump in, starting with the quarterbacks. And I got to be honest, I am bored to tears of the quarterbacks in this class. I am so over this quarterback class, it's not even funny. It's the same, by and large, the same group of guys every week. Every now and then you get a little bit of a surprise. And honestly, a lot of the players who play good, I still don't really like them that much for other reasons. Or I can't even feign. I can't even pretend like there's some possibility that they're going to be there for the Seahawks because of the way the draft class is going to break out, where initially I thought, hey, a lot of these teams near the top of the draft are not going to need quarterbacks, but the Giants need one, the Raiders need one, maybe the Titans need one. I don't know how they're going to look at the Will Levis thing. Carolina's not out of the question. You're going to have some teams at the top of the draft that might take a quarterback after all. So the idea that I had of a lot of the worst teams in the league already having the quarterback in place, I don't know if that's really a thing anymore. So even the guys that I really like are guys who are almost definitely going to be gone when the Seahawks pick. Even if the Seahawks lose out, I don't think they're getting one of the top guys. But of what we saw, Drew Allar had another pretty good game for Penn State. He is somebody that intrigues me because I think he'll be available in day 2, maybe even day 3. I don't know how the public perception of him is right now, but 21, 28, 244 yards and a touchdown, ran for a touchdown as well, 78 PFF. He's interesting, but he's certainly not somebody I'm falling in love with either. Cam Ward had another good game for Miami, 90.7 PFF grade, ran for a touchdown, threw for 2 touchdowns, did have a pick, but 27 to 38. One thing to keep in mind before I go any further is a lot of these players played against really, really bad teams. Like, we're not even talking like Oregon State bad or California bad or Stanford bad. No, they're playing like Old Dominion. So some of these stats are going to be boosted artificially, and you shouldn't take them that seriously, but the show must go on. And the thing with Cam Ward is I can't imagine a scenario where he's not a top 3 pick. At least a top 5 pick, and we're not picking in the top 5. Same with Shedeur, and even if I wanted Shedeur, I would still say, like, there's no way. How are you going to get Shedeur when the Raiders are going to be there ahead of you, when the Giants are there, when blah, 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 blah. So, it's tough for me to even get excited for some of this stuff, and you got a guy like Carson Beck, who, I'm sorry, he's not good. He's not good. Sometimes he looks good because Georgia's a good team, a lot of talent on that team, but Carson Beck is not he should be like a day 3 pick in my mind. And he can stat pad all he wants against these garbage teams, which he occasionally does, like he did this week, 4 touchdowns, 300 yards, 76.5 PFF. He's not fooling me. Shedeur Sanders played really well. Colorado did get beat up by a mediocre Kansas team, so not exactly doing himself a ton of favors there, but he even led his team in rushing, by the way. 26 yards, led the team by a good amount. 3 touchdowns, no turnovers, 266 yards, high completion percentage, but he's going to be gone. Even if I wanted him, I'd still say there's no way he's out of the top 5 in this class. And even if he does slip because of his off-the-field garbage, he's not going to slip past the top 10, I don't think. And I don't think Schneider would even consider it, personally, because of the off-the-field stuff. And Kyle McCord, he's just not that talented. He had a great game for Syracuse. I have to give him credit. 470 yards, 2 touchdowns, ran for another touchdown, 85.9, 37-47. So he put the team on his back. But am I looking at Kyle McCord as a future franchise quarterback? Of course not. Now, he'll be there in day 3, probably. He'll be a low pick. But, I mean, I'm taking him to be a third-string quarterback. I'm not taking him to be a future starter. Wide receivers, definitely better this week. Didn't mind what I saw from receivers. Couple of, one new guy here, Elijah Badger. Pretty good game for Florida. They're in their upset win. 5 catches, 87 yards, and a touchdown on 6 targets. Very efficient. 78.2. Jaden Higgins had another really good game. He's among the most productive players in college football this year for Iowa State. 9 catches, 155 yards, and a touchdown. 13 targets, so they spammed him the ball, but he's good. 87.6. I think the main thing that happened this week at receiver was we saw production from the top guys, which we had not seen in a while. Like Luther Burden has been a ghost on this list recently because he's just not putting up the big numbers for one reason or another. I don't think it's an indictment of him, but he's not putting up numbers. 7 catches, 91 yards, and a touchdown is his best game in a while. 90.5 PFF. McMillan, same thing. Ever since that first game where he set the world on fire, McMillan has been guarded so thoroughly by opposing offenses that it's hard to ever really shout him out. But finally, 9 catches, 115 yards, 13 targets. And then Kyron Lacey rounds us out. 6 catches, 85 yards, and a touchdown for LSU. 9 targets, 63.4. So, a little bit better this week. But the main highlight here is that the superstars actually played like stars. Tight end was a little bit lackluster this week. Loveland in Michigan didn't really do that much. We didn't see a lot from a guy like the Wyoming guy's kind of fallen off. He had like 3 catches for 9 yards, and I think he had a fumble too. A lot of the guys that I was hoping would be good this week really weren't. Gunnar Helm of Texas was one of the top guys. 5 catches, 51 yards, 2 touchdowns. So that's good. 64.8. But Tyler Warren continues to steal the show, I guess, with 8 catches, 102 yards. They are really trying to get him the ball a lot lately. I like it. He's good. 84.9, 11 targets. They're still giving him some backfield carries, but he didn't do anything with it this week. Gadsden, he's very productive lately. He's really come on for Syracuse. Big reception of Kyle McCord. 11 catches, 103 yards, and a touchdown. 1 carry, 12 yards, 75.8 PFF. Good player. Good, productive player. And Harold Fannin Jr., he's here kind of every week because he's always going off for Bowling Green. 9 catches, 125 yards, and a touchdown. 83.2 PFF grade. 11 targets, very efficient. But it's Bowling Green, so how seriously do you really want to take that? So, it was a little bit of a disappointing week for tight ends, I would say. Michigan actually went off offensively in that game, by the way, and Loveland still didn't do that much. So, kind of disappointing that he couldn't do a showcase game. But I am really impressed with what I see from Warren. I'll say that much. And Gadsden is a guy I liked last year, so he's definitely getting my attention. Left guard, moving to the offensive line now. We got 3 guys that stood out to me. 2 of them are Georgia guys. And again, Georgia played one of those really bad teams, so take it as you will. But Tate Ratledge and Dylan Fairchild, the 2 starting guards for Georgia. Remember, Ratledge is playing right guard, but I think he has left guard flexibility. Neither guy allowed a pressure. Georgia ran the ball for over 200 yards, 5.6 yards per carry. Both had good PFF grades. And the only other guy here, Armand Membo, he is playing right tackle, but I suspect he will move inside in the NFL for Missouri. No pressures. 207 rushing yards, although it was kind of inefficient. They ran the ball a lot. 77.3. So, pretty good. Pretty good. It's really, really hard to find pure left guards in the league. That's what I'm going to say about that. So that continues to be a problem, but we've got some stuff. Talking a little bit about center, I got 3 guys. One of them was Parker Brailsford, who, I mean, nobody on that Alabama offense deserves any credit this week, if we're being honest, but you work with what you got. And Parker Brailsford individually seemed to play okay. He allowed 1 pressure. Alabama couldn't run the ball at all, but I'm not going to put that all on him. 70 rushing yards, 67.2. So I'm not saying Brailsford played bad or is bad, but at the same time, if we're being real here, nobody on that Alabama offense deserves even a lick of positive feedback right now. Good God. Jared Wilson, Georgia. I mean, again, it's easy mode, but he allowed 1 pressure. Georgia ran the ball really well, 78.8. He's becoming a day 3 center that I think is going to provide quality NFL play. And Jonah Monheim, the USC guy, another fun day 3 center. No pressures allowed. USC really couldn't run the ball, but I think that has more to do with USC as a team than it does Monheim as a player. 3 yards per carry, 78.4 PFF grade. He's good. Should be interesting. Should manage to make it in the NFL. So those would be the 3 guys that stood out to me there. And then everything we have left is right tackle. And it was a pretty good week for right tackles, I suppose. Like, we had a decent selection, and we actually had 2 guys that we haven't talked about yet, which is always really exciting. Now, Cameron Williams, we have talked about. He's probably the top right tackle in the draft right now for Texas. Him or Jones from LSU. No pressures allowed. Texas ran the ball for over 250 yards, dominant, 69.1. They're not playing a very good team, but at the same time, Vanderbilt is not terrible. Or, no, wait, excuse me. They played Kentucky. And Kentucky's not terrible. They're not Old Dominion. They're not Holy Cross. So that means something to me. 69.1 PFF grade. Marcus Mbo, I talk about him most weeks, and he had an interesting week in that he allowed 1 pressure, which, again, he's a right tackle. No beef with that. Purdue ran the ball for -4 yards. Although it is worth noting they didn't try to run the ball. They tried, I think they had like, what would this be? Like, not even 20 carries. So they basically just lived on the run. They played like the Seahawks, right? Now, the Seahawks have never had a game where they had -4 rushing yards, at least not recently. Maybe it's happened before. But -4 rushing yards, I mean, that is definitely something that catches your attention, but I think Mbo did his job. When you're this imbalanced, it's hard to pass protect, and he held up really well. 71.5. Blake Miller, Clemson, we've talked about him before. 1 pressure allowed. Clemson ran the ball for over 300 yards, almost 11 yards a carry. They were one of those teams that was playing like a really, really, really bad opponent. So I don't want to read too much into that, but he did play well, 81.4. And then we got 2 new guys here. We got Brandon Crenshaw of Florida. Florida did score that upset win, so we should give them some dap. 2 pressures allowed. Florida ran the ball okay, 3.6 yards a carry, but over 160 yards, 71.6. So that's a new name to consider as we move forward here. And then Chase Lunt, another new name from UConn, the Huskies. UConn didn't allow any pressure. Lunt did not allow any pressures for UConn. And while they didn't run the ball for a lot of yards, they were very efficient. They just didn't try to run the ball that much. 7.3 yards per carry, 68.4. So that's another day 3 guy to keep an eye on, and maybe he'll creep up a little bit. Can't say we're too happy with our current UConn offensive lineman, but that doesn't mean the next one can't be good. All right, so that's it for the offense this week. Let me know what you guys think. Let me know if anything else stands out to you. Let me know what you like. Let me know how you're feeling. And I'll see you guys in a couple hours with the defense. Everyone have a good day. Go Hawks.